Hello.
Mike, it's Edward. How are you?
I'm okay, Edward. How are you?
Good. You have a couple minutes?
I have a couple of minutes, yep.
All right. We still talking? You still annoyed with me?
I'm not annoyed with you. I was never annoyed with you.
All right. Well, I hope so. I mean, like I said,
No. I'd probably be annoyed with you if I said, please don't call me after 10 o'clock at night because I'm sound asleep at 10. I never said that. How the hell would you know it?
Well, I mean, you know, and
angry,
honestly,
annoyed. I'm neither angry, annoyed, upset.
Right,
add whatever word you want to get in there, and I'm not.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I just wanted to clear the air. I mean, I did think about it before I called, but then I thought maybe you were expecting a call. And I remember the first time we met, you'd said, phone's by the bed, call anytime.
Absolutely, and you did absolutely nothing that would warrant anybody from feeling upset or anything else. Not at all.
Just wanted to clear the air. I mean, I won't call late absent a super emergency. Why don't we make it?
Okay.
Why don't we make it 9:30? Will that work for you?
9:30 would be great. 9:30 would be great. I just happened to. I was conked out in dreamland.
All right. So, all right. I'll give my final apology, but there have been some significant developments in the last 24 hours.
Oh my God! What?
I mean, significant stuff.
Yes.
Remember I told you that Liz was going to send a text message back to Michael about non-payment of the salary, the $25,000 salary. So, what we did is we took his language from his text to her from last Friday, which basically said, when have I ever deprived you of anything financially? And I've always been fair and equitable and done the right thing by you. And we repeated that language and then said, so if that's true, then why haven't I been paid the salary? So that was yesterday, maybe late morning, noon time. I'd have to double check the time. There was no response all day. Liz got a text message at 2 a.m., which she didn't open until
2 a.m.
Right. She didn't open it until almost 7:30 this morning. She got a PDF letter on company letterhead, by the way, housed in Houston, Texas. Excuse me. Dated December 4th.
The corporation is housed in Houston, Texas.
Right.
Good Lord.
Well, it's worse than that. But anyway, dated December 4th. Anyway, I'll read the letter and then I'll come back. Dated December 4th, Elizabeth G. Wolf, the address, Dear Elizabeth, I regret to inform you that your employment at ZZC Inc., the company, is terminated effective as of December 4, 2013, says that the effective date. The reason for your termination is as follows, with cause, financial misconduct. You are hereby requested to return all company property, including but not limited to the iMac computer, printer, and all paperwork concerning advertising clients of the company, along with your keys to the post office box. Your health insurance is paid through the end of the year, after which the payment of said is at your own expense. Please sign and return a copy of this letter to the above address. Sincerely yours, Michael Wolf, President, ZZC, Inc.
Wow.
There's more.
More, okay.
I think that the beginning of all this was when Liz, terminated the online access for Scott to her personal bank accounts. And then he called the next day, which was the day before Thanksgiving, and just let her have it for an hour and a half and made all these threats about terminating her employment and having friends drive by Sheridan Road to see if my car is here, and, just a whole parade of horribles. But then excuse me, the car that she drives is technically titled in the name of the company. And, it's a 2008. And the reason I mention is that, the registration information has always come to the 1420 address. And the registration, she told me the other day that it expires at the end of this month, and that she hadn't received it. And I said, well, we need to, and I might have mentioned this to you, come to think of it, we need to go to the Secretary of State's office immediately and pay that. Now, that being said, the only credit cards that Liz has received from Michael are company credit cards, one for ZZC Inc. and one for another one of his companies. And there's an email that Scott sent Liz saying, these are the credit cards that you should use for all purchases, only these credit cards, all purchases, including groceries, fuel for the car, whatever. The only credit cards that she has. So anyway, we went to the Secretary of State's office on Wednesday, December 4th, and they don't take American Express, which would have been the best card to use because that's the one in the name of the company, as is the car. But the other company. Oh, all right. Liz is just correcting me. Then you use the American Express. All right. Yeah. All right. We tried to use Liz's. Liz has her own personal credit card that we really don't want to use, and they wouldn't. That's the one they wouldn't take. So she used the American Express card. What? Oh, wait, hang on. There's so much nonsense here. So both the Visa and the Amex are ZZCI. Amex is Radish. ZZC all right. Is Visa. All right. You know, it's even changed. It used to be that the American Express was the one for the predecessor company, Zigzag. So I guess the primary card now for ZZC Inc. is the Visa, and we were going to use that because it's the right company to pay for the car in the name of ZZC. Okay? Okay. All right. Okay. So instead, Liz used the American Express card, which is in the name of another company, but those are the only two cards she had. And again, we didn't want to use her card because she shouldn't be paying on her account for anything. This is either company or family expense. So our guess is that since we know that Scott's been monitoring these accounts on a daily basis to see what Liz is spending, remember I told you that he had, when he was haranguing her last Wednesday, he said, I see you went out and spent $400 at Nordstrom's, and, you know, we don't want you spending that kind of money. So anyway, as I've been thinking about it, it seems like, and there's the whole thing, you know, about the license plates. So it seems to me that the financial misconduct that they're alleging is Liz going out and buying the little registration sticker for the license plate so that she would have access to using the car after December, because their plan, she had been told, was to have a Montana plate on the car, and, you know, I didn't want her using a Montana plate for a car garaged and used exclusively in Illinois. So we were able to get that because otherwise she couldn't drive the car after the end of the month because she'd have expired plates. And you know, and we don't want to put the plates on from Montana either. So we did that. I believe that since this thing was the letter was dated December 4th, we did that December 4th, and she didn't receive it until 2 a.m. on December 6th, that's likely the financial misconduct that they're alleging there. So they have cut off all our access to any company email or whatever. So some of the emails we wanted to print out, he's taken everything offline. She can't even use the printer because it was all through the company server. She hasn't used any of the credit cards yet. But Liz is pretty certain that the credit cards have been terminated. What we're going to do, she doesn't want to go and present it to someone and be turned down. So what we're going to do, is go and try to put, the car's a diesel. We're going to try to put diesel in the car and see if it's rejected, because at least there's no person there for Liz to be embarrassed in front of. Right. So exactly. So anyway, that's. That's pretty much going on. That's why I mentioned the December 4th date. I mean, he's saying, wait a minute, it's a company car. You had no right to buy the sticker to extend the license plates, and our intent when that expired was to put a Montana plate on, because he's already put Montana plates on his car, his fiance's car, and we don't know about the two cars that Michael has, maybe also on Scott's fiance's parents' cars. We do know that Liz has always been very close to Scott's fiance and her parents, and Scott's fiance's parents have done a number of things recently we've learned in the last few days that are also anti-Liz, and they're really not relevant at this time. But I mean, it kind of fits into the picture of the, all the propaganda that that Scott's spreading. So I mean, clearly, they've turned up the heat. If Liz has no access to any credit card, we don't know what they've done yet to the bank account, because that online access is also unavailable. But we can find that out by going into the bank today. So I'd say things have become a lot more progressed than they were when last we spoke about this.
Oh, quite obviously. They're just trying to beat her up to make her go away, beg for forgiveness,
right.
and I'll do anything you want me to do, but please open my credit up, and you don't even have to pay me the money you owe me. I just want to be an employee again. I don't know. I think she ought to send them something back, and it's certainly not out of line to send them something back and say the only thing that I have done that would even come near anything financially is to ask you for the rest of my salary. What specifically have I done that involves financial impropriety? I've got a right to know it, and you ought to tell me. If you don't respond, my only conclusion is I didn't do anything improper.
So you don't Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you don't think that's pandering to them?
I don't think it's pandering to them at all. I mean, if somebody tells you that you're being fired for financial impropriety, that's a rather serious allegation. In point of fact, Elizabeth is an at-will employee, if you want to say that, of the companies. And as an at-will employee in the state of Illinois, you can get fired for a good reason, a bad reason, or no reason.
Right, and I already told...
Guy walks in and says, you're fired. You're out of here. You have no recourse whatsoever. However, if you got the guy, you want to get the guy on record, don't give him a lot of time to think about it and say, okay, we did this, we looked at this, she was doing this, she was doing that. Get the question right back to him. He must have come to some type of conclusion that what she had done or not done was financially improprietous. Exactly what is he referring to? It isn't saying, give me my job back. It's saying, give me the reason that, give me what you regard and tell me the facts that lead you to believe that I've been guilty of financial impropriety. That is a very, very serious allegation. That's an allegation that borders, frankly, on a criminal. Embezzlement, God knows what else. She's got to be right. She's got to be right in the world to know what he is talking about. It isn't pandering at all, and it puts the stick to him to say, I've got to give her some reason. He either has to tell her, turn around, I don't have to tell you anything. That's not going to go over very well for him. I don't have to tell you anything, or he's going to have to come up with some cockamamie ideas, or Scott's going to have to come up with some cockamamie ideas as to what they regard as financial impropriety. You went to Nordstrom's and spent $400. Well, that's hardly financially improprietous. I mean, she's been using the card for what it was intended to, and that's to pay her expenses. That's part and parcel of something else other than impropriety. So I think she should call him out on it.
I mean, I know that both
call him out on it.
Both of our reactions, prior to talking to you, because we know the people, was to, not, I'll use the word again, pander to them by kind of going along with what they're saying. But, if you think we should respond, fine, we can do that.
I just think that silence, might in some forum and in some way be argued was kind of an agreement with what was being said. She had no comeback at all when we accused her of that. God only knows what she's done. We're investigating the matter. That's probably what they'll get back. That's not a good answer. But boy, he ought to be called out and said, "Okay, tell us the facts."
Let me give you And like I said, a lot of the things you've said, I've mentioned to her, and including the whole thing about being an employee at will, and they do say with cause. Now,
sure.
Let me give you another. I don't know how much I've told you about this, but probably over a year and a half ago, Scott set up another company for Liz. He set it up in Delaware and so forth, and it's not clear whether it's set up in Illinois. I mean, who knows what he did, but anyway, he set up another company for Liz to, some of the, like I said, the charge outs with the credit card she does for the advertising. He said, put some money into this company that he set up for her, so that it will, his words were basically to equalize the money that Michael was taking to spend on his girlfriend Karen. And so he set it up. He set up the credit card access to charge these things out. He did everything, and those were, that account was one of the things that he had access to, and that Liz, cut off the online access. However, several months ago, he came to Liz and accused her of embezzlement, and supposedly Michael didn't know about this. Accused her of embezzlement and said, "You have to give me, approximately $50,000 back," which we believe he was using, for the down payment for this house in Idaho. Now, I don't think that's the financial misconduct that's being alleged here for a number of reasons. One, Scott set everything up, and he doesn't. I just don't think, and he's already frightened of me and turning him in or whatever, according to what he's raged on to Liz. So I think that given the timing on the 4th, with the use of a company credit card to extend the license plate of a vehicle that shouldn't be extended in their mind because it was to be registered in Montana, is the triggering event, together with the earlier cutoff on the online access to the Harris and Bank of America accounts. So can I be sure? No, but I guess the email you're talking about should evoke either a response or a no response. But, that was all, and it's not a lot of money there. I mean, I think there's maybe 50 left in there.
Sure.
But, again, Scott said, let's do it. He set everything up. He emailed Liz the incorporation documents. He emailed her the instructions on setting up a bank account. He set up this bogus address somewhere on the south side. I mean, it's all Scott. So I just don't think he would use that as the misconduct here, that Liz was embezzling funds, although that was one of the things, he said, he was going to call the Highland Park Police and report her for embezzlement, even though that's the wrong person to call. So, you look at the timing and everything else. That's why they said financial misconduct instead of something bigger than financial misconduct, which to me is kind of a minimalist way of, he could have said,
and again, once again, when they didn't have to say anything, they
right.
could have just simply said that your services to the company are no longer needed.
Right.
Thanks for what you've done. Bingo. That's it. She's out. She's gone. But instead, they've thrown this fish up on the table, reeking as it is about financial impropriety,
misconduct.
It's financial misconduct. I would say that if you were sitting on a bench and you heard that somebody in front of you had been charged with financial misconduct, and they didn't inquire as to what the hell do you mean?
All right.
Tell me the facts. Tell me what you mean. I think the judge might say, apparently, silence can be a relevant thing.
All right, then we'll respond.
So I think it ought to be put to him that you're not getting away with you've dragged this financial misconduct bullshit out of somewhere. You're gonna have to right now. You're gonna have to explain exactly what the hell you mean. I'm entitled to an explanation.
All right, we'll do that.
She is entitled to an explanation.
Right. All right. Well,
I think that's a must.
All right, and that's fine. That's why I wanted to get your opinion, because I'm trying to not only protect Liz in the big sense, but also her feelings, and so that's why I wanted to get your thought. Another thing that I'm thinking of right now, by the way, we have the locksmith here changing the locks. So that'll be done within the hour.
Mm-hmm.
So that's done. I also thought I have a acquaintance plus who's a sergeant with the Highland Park Police Department, and what I was going to do was email him and ask him if he could come over here, because he would do that and tell him what's going on and say, look, Liz is really frightened. This is what, broadly what's going on. What do you suggest we do?
Sure.
I mean, you agree with that?
I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. No,
I mean,
not at all.
I mean, the Highland Park Police Department are I think are really good about treating their residents well, and and I think put them on notice so that if Liz has to call 911 because Michael shows up and starts giving her a hard time because the locks don't work and all that, it's one thing to call the police, which would be done, but it's another thing for them to be aware of what's going on and to be kind of pre-warned. If you get a call from 1420, get someone over there fast and be prepared. So you agree with that?
Yeah.
All right.
I do. I think that's a good idea, actually.
All right. Good.
I think it's a good idea. I'm wondering if when you draft the email back to him, if you could shoot me a copy of it before you send it down to him.
Can I just?
I'd really like to take a look at it.
Would you mind if I just? It won't be long if I just call you and say this is what we're going to do, and you can immediately suggest any changes.
Sounds great.
We're going to do that quickly. Just so you know, I mean, I'll be available all day except I have an appointment between 1:30 and maybe 3 o'clock this afternoon. That's the only time I won't be reachable. And the only other question for right now...
Did you say 1 to 3? 1 to 3?
1:30 to 3.
1:30 to 3. Okay, great. Good. I'll keep that in mind.
We'll do the email right away, and then while I'm gone... Well, Liz is going to call her other son and tell him only a limited amount. I don't want her to tell the other son, Peter, about the petition being filed or anything that could get back to Michael because, Peter...
Oh, right. Yeah, it's then going to come down to an effort on the other side to kind of romance Peter and to fill him up with a lot of baloney. And what's he's going to take a look and say I wouldn't be involved in this if my mother hadn't called me. If this guy gets involved, I think he should be getting involved on his own because this is family stuff. And boy, somebody could turn around and say, hey, thanks a lot for telling me that stuff, Mom. Look, I'm in the middle of I've got stuff up to my neck here. So I'd try to keep him out.
Well, no, she's going to talk to him. She will call him. She's just going to limit, all she's going to do is tell him all the horrible things that Michael and Scott have done up to and including, today's events, but nothing about what she's done or what she might do or whatever. Just let them know. Look at these things. That's it. So I'm going to do that. We'll get to work on the text now. We're going to send it back. And actually, I mean, all these messages have been by text. Should we we can't, I don't know if we can really easily do an email. Does it matter whether it's an email or text from your vantage point?
It doesn't matter as long as it's retrievable.
All right. Yeah, I mean,
as long as it's retrievable, I suppose one possibility would be to you prepare the text, then do a handwritten letter and make a copy of the handwritten letter and mail the handwritten letter that says exactly the same thing that the text says to him by mail. So you've got it. You should have a copy of it that is credible and retrievable. That's the only caveat. I don't like these things that go off into the ozone and they disappear from.
Well,
exactly.
We'll do it as an email from, Liz doesn't have access to her email through the company account, but she does have a Gmail account, so she'll just use that.
There you go.
So we'll do that. What about the concept of some sort of an emergency motion in the court on Monday? I mean, I know it's too late today already to really get that done.
Yeah. I'm working on them right now, and there's the additional item now. There's the additional item now for temporary support.
Right.
Which couldn't be made any clearer because he's completely cut off her income, and I suspect he's going to, cut off her credit and everything else, and she's simply without money. So
right.
I think it's got to be between you and I and the wall. I would think that the emergency motion for temporary support actually takes, in my mind, takes precedence over the injunctive motion. Injunctive motion is going to be a lot of arguing about what they should do, what they shouldn't do, show her this, show her that, show her something else. And the temporary support motion is simply saying, I don't have any money. This guy's got a $137,000 Aston Martin, and a company with, I believe, is earning in excess of $1 million a year with little, if any, overhead. And I need support. He turned around and fired me for so-called financial misconduct. I think a motion for temporary support. You file the injunction, they're going to want time to respond. The judge is going to say, well, don't screw around, don't do anything in the meantime. Judge, we need time to respond. You get a hearing. I think you've got a hearing right away, pronto with the temporary support. She's got to have that. Right, and that's what I was. He's got to have that. He's got to be giving checks. There's not a law in the world that's going to make him hire her back. Right. I mean, that's not going to work. The judge is never going to order that. It's only asking for problems down the line. Temporary support's another thing. She needs money. Right, but even though technically in Illinois she should own 50% of the company, and so as an owner she can't be terminated. I'm not foregoing that. The point is that everything that they're doing is one way or another on paper. Right. It's a bank account here, it's a check written here, it's a credit card here, it's something else. I think that the stuff that they've been doing, as kinky as it may be, is stuff that can be recreated by paper. She is going to need an expert to actually go into wherever going into involves to construct the business and to do forensically, to take a look and see exactly what they have done and what they've done wrong and what they've done right. But all I'm saying is I think, given the firing, 2:00 in the morning firing, I think what she absolutely needs immediately, before she can even bat her eye, is a motion for temporary support. All right, that's fine. She's got to get that, and for that, and for the injunctive thing as well. She gave me a sheet, one page of the Rule 1102 affidavit. I emailed you another Rule 1102 affidavit this morning. Right. That she needs to fill out. She'll work on that today. I've got to run. I will call you back with that text message. Okay. Shortly. Okay. Shortly. Okay. Right. Good luck. Thank you very much. Bye. Bye. Thank you.